How you doing, people? Gonna do a little cleaning on my shotgun. I believe this is an 870 Remington Wingmaster 870. So this is the old, they used to be Wingmaster. This gun looks pretty nice. I need to put some water locks on this. So this is just one of the guns that I have sitting around the house somewhere. So there's bullets in here. When you unload a shotgun, you can do it by pushing in the feeder and then releasing the button one at a time. That's one way to unload it. The other way is to this little release right here will allow it to go in, a round will come out the top, and it will fall out. You go back, and you do it again, another round will come out, and you can do it that way. As long as you hold down this little release right here, you can toss it back and forth. This release is the same thing as pulling the trigger, except you're not pulling the trigger. So it won't come back, but if I pull the trigger, now it comes back. It won't come back until I pull the trigger. Then it comes back. If I don't want to pull the trigger, I simply hit the release, which is that little button right there, and now it comes back. So these are pretty simple to take down. You unscrew this end cap here, and once you get that end cap off, the barrel just comes right off. As long as the bolt's back, the barrel slides right off. You have your barrel. You have this, your pump action here. This thing is still looks pretty clean. And then to get this, you have to reach inside here and press on. If I get my fingers out of the way, there's a little bitty release in there. And I need to reach in there and press that. And that will allow this to come forward. And there's one on each side. And then it slides right out. Got to be very careful here. This bolt will fall off because it's just sitting on these two rails right here. So if you're not careful, it'll fall out, which isn't the end of the world. And then this has two pieces. It's the piece that rides on that and the piece that sits on top. And as this goes back and forth, it goes. So this actually feels kind of greasy. This feels kind of dry. And this tube right here, I don't know if it's clean or not, but we'll clean that up. And then that's how you do that. Now, this has what's called a compression ring that you will pull out, and it will pull the spring out, and you can get to that tube. And I usually take that out with a little screwdriver, and you just kind of like bend it so around, and it will pop out. And you don't want to do it too hard because you'll bend it. And if you do it too hard, it pops back in. So it's about to come out, as you can tell. It's popping out. And then here's where you got to be careful that it'll fly out and it'll release a spring. So you got to be ready to catch it. I will take this in here without bending it and get it out like so. That way the spring released the tension. The spring didn't force it out. This is your magazine tube spring. And then inside will be this little plug here. And when you put this in, make sure the plug goes so when I'm loading rounds, it's pushing against this flat side. You don't want your plug in this way to where it's pushing and it ends up feeding in there. Your spring will be in here. and your spring is pushing it this way, and then when you load your rounds, it pushes forward. So that's the way it goes back in. I'm surprised I only have 3 rounds in there. Normally I keep more rounds. Okay. And then if I want to pull this out, I push these 2 pins out to clean the interior. I'm not going to pull out this housing. Maybe I should. I don't know how long it's been since I pulled this out. I might as well, since I'm doing this video, just go ahead and pull it out. So, I don't know what happened to my radio. It kind of shut off on me there. So, this will usually come out with any punch. I usually use my Glock punch for just about everything. Just hit it with my hand there. And that's 1 pin that comes out. And then the second pin right there, I will take it out. And it comes out. One is smaller than the other. The front pin is small. The rear pin is not. I gotta get some gloves on. And then this will come out now. Now that I've taken out the trigger housing pin, I should just be able to slide this right out. And I was hoping that pin wouldn't fall out, because that is a pain in the butt to get back in. So that looks pretty clean. But I'll go ahead and clean it up. And this little pin that falls out is a pain in the butt. It only goes in a certain way. It's usually tack welded. This one actually is held in. One of the pins goes in this hole right here. So you have to get it lined up the right way for the pin. Now you see there's one on the other side that's kind of tack welded in there. It looks like this. So that one is in. Now I have to put this one in that groove in there if it's coming out. That groove right here. So it'll fit right in there like so. Alright, so that should be welded in, but I haven't had that out in a while. And then that's pretty much your what do you call the frame maybe. I don't even know if the serial number's on here though. Where's the serial number on this sucker? I thought the serial number would be on here, but I don't see a serial number. See, some of the older guns don't have serial number. Now you see this little rusting right here? I'm going to take some steel wool on that, and that's probably going to remove that. See, the bluing's kind of going away, and it's kind of like a little bit of pitted. So I'm gonna put a little oil, and then I'm going to take some of this steel wool, and I'm going to go in a straight line to see if it removes it, so you know the difference on where it took it off and it didn't. So if you can see, I went in a straight line there and it removed some of that kind of dark pitting, and I don't know if the light's going to let it come out. So I need to get this steel wool on here. And kind of work that and remove a little bit of that rust. Get that so it doesn't fall. Forgot to put my gloves on, so I need to do that. I'll let that oil soak in a little bit. Put me some gloves on. Alrighty. So let's I'm just going to run this steel wool over this hoe tube here. instead of just over the spot to where I want to polish up. Let's make this whole tube nice and shiny and get any top rust. I removed quite a bit. You probably can't see it. There was a little bit of discoloration right around here. If you go back, you can probably see it. And that steel wool just cleaned up this tube and took any of the pitting off. There's still a little bit right here that I need to scrub a little bit harder on. And because it's taken off so little, I have to go back quite a few times. But you don't want it too aggressive. And this is the Wingmaster is the older gun. You can't find these, especially not in good condition. I think I got this at a pawn shop. Till I got a little bit of oil or rust on there. But that tube looks nice now. Nice and smooth. I mean, I can feel it. Still see a little pitting because it's an old gun. It's got some scratches. I'm going to go ahead and put some oil and do that steel wool all over this so you can see what it looks like now. And I'm going to put a little bit of steel wool on that too. Not that it needs it, but maybe I'll just do one side so you can see how little it takes off. So here's the side I put the steel wool on, and here's the side I have not. I just put oil. Let me wipe the oil side. So this is the oil side, no steel wool. This is the steel wool side. I can tell it smoothed it out. So I'm going to just give it a little once over with the steel wool all over. If there is any light rusting, this is going to remove it. Now some people will tell you don't do this because you're probably removing bluing. This is some really old bluing, and I might be. But I'd rather remove any little minus surface rust and get all of that off. Oh yeah, that looks nicer already. That kind of cleaned it up pretty nice. So that's and I will do the same thing on this barrel. So let's see if this barrel looks like. Kind of brown, not a lot of rusting. But after I run that steel wool on it with some oil, you're going to see the it change. And I'm not putting a whole bunch, I'm not squeezing my hand a whole bunch. I'm just kind of letting the steel wool do its thing and take off any surface rust. And then I'll do the same thing at the bottom half. And you should see a little bit of a sheen and color come back to this bluing because I'm really getting off a lot of surface rust here. So let's see what this rag looks like before and after. See that little light rusting kind of I got off there? Just a little bit, not a lot. And now this is what the barrel looks like. Again, can you see the difference? I don't know. This is an old little shotgun. So I can't tell right there if that's just discoloration or a little rust. So I'm going to go ahead and run that steel wool over that little spot right there. That could just be wearing out where the barrel connects, and that's what I think it is. I think that's just because the barrel connects right there in there and from shooting and moving back and forth. So what does the inside of this barrel look like? I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to take a look at it. Well, it actually looks pretty clean. We'll squirt a little of that down there, and I'll get a patch. We will slide a patch down that sucker. I'll slide this dirty patch already on here. Oh, man. Now because this patch is smaller and it's not really getting any friction, what I'm doing is when I'm rubbing it, I'm actually pushing the patch against it and polishing it like so on the inside of the barrel to make sure that I'm cleaning kind of like the barrel a little bit by putting pressure on the inside of the barrel. And we'll go the other way. Ideally, you want to not hear metal on metal and hear that cushion. And of course, if I wanted to get my shotgun brush and run a brush through there, I could do that too. But I'm okay with how that turned out. I don't know if you guys can see that. See a difference on how that turned out. Okay. So, getting a little bit of surface rust from inside there, because this is what goes over this tube here. So we got metal on metal there. Oh, that was pretty dirty inside there. I'm going to have to get a Q-tip in there because I can tell. That it's got quite a bit of dirt in there. So obviously, the last time I cleaned this, I did not get in this little end cap very well, or it wouldn't look like that. So, not the end of the world, but again, this gun's been sitting for I don't know how many years. So as it sits, it collects things. So this is my little end cap that holds my spring in. My two little pins. Oh, that got a lot of dirt too. Let me do the other side. See that patch? Got my fingernail in that groove. Not too bad on that one. Let's do the other side. And you see where I put my fingernail in that little groove as I'm spinning it to really get in there. So you don't want your pins rusting shut, because then it makes it harder to come apart. End up replacing them. So, and if you notice the pins, well, this one has it on both sides. I guess this one does too. Okay. So they're universal. I can go either way on them. All right. That's there. That's there. I haven't put anything down this tube yet. I don't know what that looks like. Can you guys even see that down there? Let me get a flashlight down in there. So that tube looks pretty good to me. But we're still going to get a little patch through it. Put a little squirt of oil down there and run that patch through it. Alright. And oh, I should have showed you the patch before I put that in there. That's pretty dirty. We'll do the other side. It'll be a lot dirtier. Ooh, look at all that dirt. Man, that's nasty. I hate when I see that in a gun. So this sucker seriously was due a cleaning, because that patch is trash. So let me get a new patch and get that in there again. Oh man, it's still dirty that is. Wow. I'm disgusted. I should be ashamed to have a gun this dirty. Really, really disappointed that I got that much dirt off here. The good thing is, I'm getting dirt and not rust. So, little something good out of here. A couple little cracks in there. I need to get some this Q-tip in there. Sometimes when I get the sharp edges, Q-tip is better. I won't cut my glove or cut my hand. Shotguns usually has very sharp pieces inside, and when you start sliding around in there, you're gonna freaking get like paper cuts, and it freaking hurts. So be warned, when you're cleaning shotguns, they're not real finished on the inside, and you will get cuts. So now we know what the inside looks like. Got all that dirt out of there. Should be a lot cleaner with a nice fresh coat of oil over it. Put a little coat of oil over this. So I always like to do my grooves, and I just put that rag on that groove right there and clamp down on it, and then twisted it, and that got those. And since I'm doing that one, I need to do the cap itself. And then once I get the dirt out of it, I'll get me a little Q-tip with some of this oil and give it a good once over. And to make sure all these grooves get a little oil, I'm going to put some oil on these grooves here, and then I'm going to put the cap on. Take it off, and put the cap on, and take it off. So now I know Then I got a good coat of oil. Now there's a little coat of oil in here. I'm going to get me a toothbrush. Somebody, I think, what's his name, told me to have a nylon brush to order. And I have one. I just don't know where it's at. It's green. There it is. Right there. That's a little nylon brush. And that's a little bit stiffer than a toothbrush. But a toothbrush is nice for little things. People really neglect where they have screws or flatheads. Always try to clean those grooves the best you can. If a screwdriver fits in there, that's where it's going to rust. And if you can't clean it, at least put a drop of oil on it. Okay, so that's nice and clean. Barrel's done. I think I did the barrel. If not, I did it now. So this is done inside and out. This is done inside and out. Anytime you got little corners or cracks like that, that's where I like my Q-tip going in there. And I didn't get any dirt on there, which tells me that was good and clean. See that little cotton right there? Got caught on there from this Q-tip? I don't know if that's coming out. Not a big deal. Get rid of it, not going to hurt anything. Alrighty. So now this tube, this metal tube, will come out of this wood. This little piece right here is an end cap, and I can unscrew it. But it's kind of a pain in the butt. Let me see how hard it is to get out. Oh, not that hard. So what I'm doing is I'm merely putting this in here and spinning it. And a lot of times they're really tight. I must have took this out and didn't tighten it up as much as I needed to. So this little thing will continue to spin out. And it kind of got stuck on me there, so I got to use my screwdriver again to get more leverage to finish screwing that out. Sometimes the threads are bad, and that's why it's getting stiff. It's getting really, really stiff here, which it shouldn't be. And once I put some oil on here, hopefully that stiffness will go away. But this will go ahead, and you can see the grooves are starting to come out. And now that's out. And I need to clean that up. It actually looks pretty clean, so I'm pretty sure when I bought it, I usually go through this like this and really clean it up nicely. So I'm pretty sure I did that. But I will go ahead and get a little patch in here and see if I get any dirt. Nah, not really. So this is really pretty clean compared to most. First time people take these off because they're never taken off, they look pretty bad. Now when I pull this piece out, you have to be careful. You don't want to be bending these. So these are set a certain way, so you don't want to torque and bend these too much. So if they come out easy, you can use these like so, and it'll come out pretty easy if it's been cleaned. If they're really tight and they're banged in there, sometimes you got to bang from this end to get them out. This one, by just rattling a little bit, it slides right out. So now I have my wooden piece here. I have the threads here that I want to clean. I have this tube. I have another tube inside here that I need to get cleaned. I don't know what that looks like in there. It should be pretty clean. And I'm going to clean this. So I'm going to go ahead and run that little steel wool just like I did over the other part. because I don't remember if I did it or not. And that's going to get away any surface rust. I'm going to take that steel wool over these pieces. Again, not a lot. I'm not trying to file them down, remove paint, remove bluing. I'm simply just removing any excess stuff that might be a little bit of surface rust. And I see a little rust on my rag. So there was a little bit of surface rust on here that I did not see. And I don't know if you can tell if it looks cleaner or brighter or the bluing came out, because that steel wool took off any of that surface rust. And these are pretty much worn down because this is a really old shotgun. But that's all these little wear marks are just, it smooths out over time, which makes it a really smooth, nice thing. So now I'm going to, looks like there's a little dust down this thing in the middle here. Now sometimes I will, if I've got an old t-shirt or something and I got tubes, I will just try to thread my t-shirt or towel and just get that through so I can use it like a sock. If I can get it through the other side right there, and now I know I get the tube nice and clean on the inside. Now this tube should be nice and clean. Got a good little coat of oil in there. Alright. And I will put a little coat of oil that way, and a little coat of oil this way, and a little coat of oil over this top here, over the grooves here. Man, this is going to be a happy shotgun when I'm finished. Nice. Okay, so a lot of times when I take things apart like this, instead of having a whole bunch of parts, I'll put back together. So this is ready to go back together. I'm going to go ahead and put it back together. Slide this back in. It goes in right in a certain way to where that goes right in. And then my end cap goes in over here. So I need to screw it and get it started. I'm going to reverse it to make sure I get a good seat until I hear a click. And then I'll go forward. And we'll just reverse the process. You don't want to cross thread this. But you want it tight enough to where there's no rattling. If I wanted to clean the inside of this wood and condition the inside of the wood, that would have been the time to do it. And I can tell it's going back a lot easier than when I took it off. See, I don't know if you can see it going in easier. But I can feel it going in easier. Alrighty. And I just hand tight that on. It's good and tight. There's no loose in here, and it's ready to go. Nice. Remember my little springs? I always put a little oil on a patch. I do this to almost all springs. I put it through the spring and grab this, and then I twist it all the way, one way and then the other way. So it's getting longer at the bottom, shorter at the top. I know I'm getting a good coat of oil and cleaning on this entire spring. And I really don't have anything on it, but I got to go the other way. So I go back, and now I want to work up the other way. So I know my entire spring, inside and out, all the way around, there's no dirt, corrosion, rust. It's got a good coat of oil. And I even leave it for the last few twists to where it has to go through the finishing spring. That way I really get oil everywhere until it just comes completely off. And I know I have exactly and there's really no dirt on here. So this spring was pretty clean. This looks pretty clean. I've had this apart. I'm just going to put some oil on here because you can tell it's pretty stinking clean. So I'm going to use a new Q-tip and see if I'm getting any dirt. And I'm going to be putting oil on at the same time. So somebody asked if I use solvents. I really don't. I let my oil do the cleaning. I mean, if I had a really dirty, filthy, that I really wanted to strip clean, then maybe I would spray it down with solvent or just dunk it. I mean, like I said, we used to clean our M60s in a bucket of Dawn dishwashing detergent or any dishwashing detergent and water. And we would do it out in the sun, scrub them in water and soapy water, rinse them, and then let them dry in the sun and put a good coat of oil on them. So I put in one of the comments, I'm not really a big solvent guy. It's just something else that tears down the oil. It may clean things. Now this is a good extractor example of the bad extractor. I talked about slamming the bolt down on a semi-automatic and it makes it jump. Remember I talked about the extractor here? The extractor hooks on the bullet and pulls it out. And on automatics, if you slam it down, it has to bend and go around. Well, on this, because it's a spring, and because it's beveled right there, this is actually designed to go around and to kind of slam. So that's the difference. The newer pistols, a lot of them have springs. So it's not as bad. As long as it's beveled and it's got a spring, it's not as bad. But it's always better to use the gun the way it was designed. I mean, if it goes over a lip here, not the end of the world. You know, some people may think watching these videos kind of boring and useless. I get a lot of good comments from the people that watch them. But I'm telling you, the things that I talk about and discuss, even though you've heard it and even though you know it, if you learn it on one gun, then you see it on another gun, and then you learn it on that gun, it just reinforces and makes it very clear how guns operate and how you don't have to like repeat learning from scratch. Remember, prior learning makes later learning easier. You can't work on words till you learn the alphabet. And you have to know what the letters in the alphabet do. And then you have to learn what words are and how to pronunciate them. And then you have to learn sentence structure and how they go together. But you can't just start without ever knowing what ABC sounds like and start doing words and expect somebody to get it. Well, that's kind of the same way when you're working with guns. You've got to be able to understand how it functions. They all usually have ejectors, extractors, bolts, firing pins, slides, bolt action, lever action. They're all the same, and all guns pretty much do the same. And the more guns that you work or understand, the better you're going to be if your gun breaks or something goes wrong with that. Now I'm going to steel wool this little bad boy. You can tell, I don't know if that is rust or paint. It almost looks like paint. And I'm not sure why that's on there. Sometimes if you get a new replacement part, they'll paint it like red for right. That goes on the right side maybe because it's red. I don't know. Since the other one doesn't come out, I'm not too concerned about it. Now, do I want to steel wool this? I can. I can give it a little quick shot of steel wool. Am I going to hurt anything? No. Is it polishing it up? Yeah. I mean, steel wool just really works nicely. See that little tip there? I don't know if you can see the discoloration or the little bit of rust or whatever. I'm going to steel wool that a little bit, and you're going to see how this steel wool cleans that up. Even though I wouldn't say it was dirty and it needed cleaning, it was dirty and going to affect the operation of the gun, but that steel wool just removed that little stuff that was on there. And now it's nice and smooth and shiny, and smooth surfaces are less likely to connect carbon and stuff. So I could wipe off this if I want to. I don't really need to. Some would say you just scrubbed it with steel wool, now there's rust and stuff on there, you should clean it and then re-oil it. I would probably agree, that's probably a better way, but leaving the other oil on there, I think I would have been fine too. I just want to show you, the different ways you can do it. So that's ready to go in. My pins are done, my bolts done, both barrels are done. The only thing that I have left that I have not cleaned is my trigger mechanism. And the trigger mechanism here is if you pull the trigger, again, when you pull the trigger, it releases and the firing pin goes up. This hits the firing pin. This is a hammer. And then when it cocks, it goes down, locks in place. And then you have this little lever here that feeds up and down. So all these moving parts, I need to get a little piece of oil and a Q-tip in here. So I'm just going to take a Q-tip on here. I don't have to take all this apart. You notice there's a little bitty spring right there that I want to get some oil down in there, because that spring probably has never come out. And so I'm going to put some oil right there on that little pressure switch, and then I'm going to do this, and it's going to allow that oil to go down in there. And if there's a spring or rust or anything in there, this oil is now going to be in there. Alright. And I'm going to put some oil on some different tubes. Always clean where your pins go. Very neglected area. There's a pin that goes here, and there's a pin that goes here. And people don't get in there and clean those. And I find so much. Look how dirty that one is. Wow. Let me get a clean freaking Q-tip. That sucker was filthy. Let me go back in there again. Clean Q-tip. See, I just said it was a neglected area, and look at mine. And I know I did this last time, but look how much dirt I got off there. This is where your pin, metal against metal, sits in there. So anytime you have little, I'm going to do the front one with a clean Q-tip. See the dirt? So now I'm going to get a clean one with some oil and do it again, because now I know my pin's going to go in there and it's going to have a nice clean oiled spot to go into. And actually, even though I just cleaned it with oil, I got more dirt, because I went from the other side instead of the same side. Which is why maybe you should go on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to get anywhere this can go. I'm going to get in here and really just try and get this thing cleaned up. Now, I don't think this is rust. I think this is just wear from sliding rounds in. But I may hit that with the steel wool. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but that really cleaned that up to where it's nice now. Just that little steel wool really cleaned that up and made it very, very smooth, where I'm going to get a good smooth coat of oil over there. Okay, so now I'm going to hit every pin, everything that moves, everything that grinds or moves back and forth is going to get a little bit of oil. And then I want to get on both sides here because this is actually my trigger. When I pull my trigger right here, see my trigger goes up? Comes on right here. So when I pull the trigger, this is going to move and release my firing pin. So now that I got some oil on there, I'm going to hold the firing pin so it doesn't shoot forward. Squeeze the trigger, let the hammer go forward, and now make sure this little piece is oiled nice and good so it comes up smooth like it's supposed to. I'm going to oil these little corners and clean all the Q-tip. Because I cleaned it before, now I want to open the bolt up and clean it again with a Q-tip. And make sure that any place that I couldn't get to before, like that clean Q-tip, look how dirty it got. Because this is what was closed and I couldn't get to it. Woo! You would think I never cleaned this sucker. Look at that. Again, Q-tips are your friend. I'm oiling and cleaning. Somebody would say you should be using solvent. Then I would have to remove the solvent and then I have to re-oil it. And I just don't think I get that much bang for my buck by doing solvents, personally. Could be wrong. Woo, look at that Q-tip. See, somebody would think that I've never cleaned this gun. And I have not shot this gun since I cleaned it last. And this is the way I clean my gun every time. So, for somebody to be giving me shit, saying, dude, you need to clean your gun better. Alright, whatever. Okay, so now I have a nice coat of oil all over everything in here. All my pieces, all my moving parts, good and oiled. I rarely use my safety, but you always want to get that safety and move it in and out. And put some oil in there. I'll put a little oil in that little, so when I move the safety, it'll go down into the safety. And then I'll do it on the other side. Put a little oil in that part of the safety. And then press the safety. And let it go back and forth. My glove just got caught. And that should loosen up any dirt or grime in there. Alrighty. Since I have it out and it's easier to get to, another neglected area is behind the trigger. People don't want to clean behind that trigger. I guess they just think it doesn't get dirty. So always clean behind your trigger. And inside that trigger oil, this is where your finger goes, which is a lot of oil. I'm going to go ahead and drop a bit of oil right down on that trigger. Because I was oiling it from the other way. But I really didn't oil it from this way. Alrighty. So now this is done. I think we're ready to go back together, people. And this gun cleaning experience will be over. Alright. So, the hardest part is to get this little sucker back in there without it falling out while I slide this in here. So there may be some cussing involved in here. You may want to leave or cover small children's ears because this has got to go in without this popping out. And it is a pain in the buttocks. So, and because I said that, who knows, maybe it'll go in very easy. We shall see. So I need to make sure that the hole on that thing is lined up to the hole here. As you can tell, it's not. So, now it should be. Alrighty. So, in order to make sure that's lined up now instead of later, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that pin in there and make damn sure it's lined up. And it's not, because it's pushing it out. Can you all see that, how it's pushing it out? So it's not lined up. Now it's lined up because the pin's through it. Now I know that it's lined up correctly. I'll pull the pin out, don't move it, and then get that damn trigger guard in there. This will be the part that'll be cussing. Mother. Just going to tap it a little lightly to the rear. It should pop right in there nice and smoothly, and it's not. So that tells me, there we go. So now that it went in wrong, see, it went in too far, it needs to come out. But as long as the pin's in there in the right spot, I don't want to pull it all the way out, because then I'll lose that damn pin, and that will be a pain in the butt. So I got to get this out and slid back into place. And it's almost there because I'm checking these pins to see if the pin will go in correctly. And since it's not there yet, I'm going to give myself a little tap. Oh yeah! Now you should be able to see daylight through those holes. So before we do anything else, I want to get this pin back in there. Very lightly. I never force things with guns. This should go right in nice and smoothly with little to no pressure. So that's in there. Get that front pin in there. And I'm going to be golden, baby. Okay, I'm hitting something solid there. I need to adjust this just a little bit. There we go. I'm hitting something over here. You can tell that little pin right there is not lined up perfectly. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of tapping. Or I can put this pin in over here, and what I do is a rounding action to make sure it's lined up, and then maybe it'll go in. And it's not. It's close. Ah, there we go. Perfect. My two pins are in. My hammer works now. Hard part's over, baby. So, I got to get this spring back in the magazine tube, but before it goes in, I need to make sure this is inside here, pushing it down, remember? So, this has to go in first. Oh. Shit. So this has to go in butt first, so the spring can go in here. Then the spring goes in and pushes it down, and then I need to put the spring in with this compression thing. Now I call this compression because you see that little opening? You actually have to squeeze that to get it in. So what I normally do is once I get it in on the opposite side, I try to squeeze it on the top side. And if I can get it started a little bit, I'll take this little rubber mallet and we'll just kind of pop that in. Nice and soft. Now you don't want to hit too hard because you'll bend your screw things in here. When you screw your end cap, that will be your main retainer. This just holds your spring so you can get your end cap on. Okay? Once the end cap is on, if I put my barrel on now and then put my end cap on, who sees a problem with this? I don't have my bolt in. So I need my charging handle before the barrel goes on. So this needs to go on first. Slide that over there. I need to put my, and I always screw this up because I forget which way is which. I think it goes this way. And I always know on the bolt, the firing pin and the extractor has to be to the front because that's going to be dealing with the bullet. A lot of people put these in backwards. It has to go in with the firing pin forward. So that should be like so. Then once you try to get in here, you don't want to force it. It'll stop right there and then you have to reach under. Oh no, don't tell me. Did that pin fall out? Shit. I think that pin did fall out. There is something sticking out there that should not be sticking out. Okay, so we got to pull this off, figure out what's going on here. Yeah, so see, I didn't check this. This should be flopping in and out, and it won't go in. Why? Because that damn metal piece fell down in there. Ah! Ah! That's why I don't pull out the trigger guard too much. So we're back to freaking where we were before. And we have to take it out. See, I thought it went in too easy. I was like, man, that's the first time that went in. That's pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, it was amazing because it didn't freaking work. That's why it was amazing. That's why you didn't get the cussing you normally get. You're going to get it now. Ah, you fucker. So I really don't see why. So this little thing right here is kind of bent in, and I don't know why. Was it bent before? Does it go the other way? Is there tension that way? I'm not sure. Oh shit! Now the other one fell off! Damn! So they both have red on them. Oh my god, I might have to stop this video because this is where the cussing is going to just be going crazy. Sometimes you clean this so good that it okay. I think I'm good to go. If I could just get this in here. Oh shit, I just pulled the damn trigger. I didn't really want to do that, but I don't think it matters. Now maybe on the newer 870s, this isn't such a problem. So sometimes it just takes fiddling. I'm going to go ahead and stop this and fix this. I should have left it running. You've literally been off for maybe 30 seconds. I was able to squeeze it back in there. So this, I didn't check last time, should have been working. And because I didn't check it, it wasn't working. But now it is. So I'm good to go. So now we're going to go back to where we were. This goes in first. Let me wipe this wood right here. That almost looked like dirt. So this goes here. This goes here. Well, shit. I lost, the battery died on the last little bit. So I gotta unload this again. And, take it apart where I stopped it. So the video stopped kind of right where I got. Shit, let me spin this around. Make sure I'm in camera. So this shouldn't be too long, and I'm going to have to take out a whole bunch. I got to pull the bolt out again. So here's where I stopped. So I got to add this in. So you take your little piece here, 2 pieces. There's the bolt, then the little bolt carrier group holder, whatever. Place that on there in the little, see those little grooves right there? There's 2 little grooves and it fits right in there. Then you slide it in to where you know it's right, and then it's going to stop. And you have to reach underneath here, and those 2 little pins that you pulled out, there's one on this side and there's one on the other side. And you just got to press one or both until it goes in a little bit further. And then once it moves in a little bit, push it in. Hit that little release right there, so it comes all the way back. Put your barrel on. I should have had gloves on. I'm putting oil all over this shit. And I had it good cleaned oiled. Put your barrel on, and then put your pin on, or your end cap screw. And some people go, how tight? I usually tighten it till I can't tighten it anymore. There, it's finger tight. It ain't going nowhere. Some people will push down on this to get another turn. It's got a little detent bead in there so it can't back out. Hi, Monkey Cat. Monkey Cat just came in. And then, do your function. Remember, I'm holding this down in order to work the action. So you don't see it, but I'm actually holding my finger here. If I don't, it won't come back. So by holding that button in, I can work the action. And pull the trigger to take the tension off the spring, and then put my rounds back in. And I am good to go. This gun is ready to shoot, fire, etc. And again, another reason I pull that trigger is I want to make sure this gun isn't unsafe. Because when I grab this gun, the only thing I have to do is rack it and I'm ready to shoot. Alright? So we'll end that there on the cleaning the 870. And my next gun I'm going to do is my little Dan Wesson. I love that little gun. Alright, we'll end that there.